Hello, geeks and gamers. Gary here from Nerdrotic. Jeremy was kind enough to let me do a video on his amazing channel that we're not supposed to bring up the fact that he passed up John Campea in subscribers. So I need to keep that in mind while I'm talking through this video, that I'm not supposed to talk about Jeremy passing up John Campea in subscribers. Note to self, noted, don't bring it up. But we do need to bring up justice for Anas. What's justice for Anas? Well, we can go over to our friends at Bounding Into Comics, who were kind enough to write an article at my request. And Jorge Arenas, thank you very much, my friend. GoFundMe launched to support Anas Abdin's Star Trek Discovery lawsuit. Now, I have done multiple videos on this subject, and hopefully somebody will link them in the description. If not, you could search my channel. It's okay if they don't, by the way. And detailing Anas Abdin's adventure over the last year. Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek as a whole is going down the same road that Star Wars did, unfortunately. And there's been the same type of character assassination in Star Trek as there's been in Star Wars. And the funny thing is, it's all connected to J.J. Abrams. Right now, Star Trek is run by a gentleman named Alex Kurtzman, who runs a organization called Secret Hideout, which may or may not be connected to Bad Reboot, and Jar Jar Abrams, who of course did the 2009 Star Trek. Now, I know there's a lot of fans out there of that movie, and at the time I liked it, didn't mind the cast, but the repercussions of that have been felt through Star Wars and Star Trek. And when you find out more about what was behind Star Trek 2009 and how it's affected both Star Wars and Star Trek, you might hate it by the time you learn this. J.J. Abrams, his style of filmmaking is to pretty much ape other people's styles and wring out what as much as you can, like a sponge, just wring out as much as you can out of that franchise and then leave it just dead when you're done. And really, this is something that's appealing to the franchises because, you know, you do make the most amount of money up front, but as far as, you know, carrying on the legacy for decades, like, you know, many of us fans have helped do with Star Wars and Star Trek, it kills it and it won't last. And J.J. Abrams and Alex Kurtzman's models for these franchises aren't built to last. And again, they pay homage to a lot of other things because they're not very original people. They're very good at running their bullshit in Hollywood, but they're not very good at actually creating their own original material. J.J. Abrams is basically a very bad copy of Steven Spielberg, and Alex Kurtzman is the living embodiment of Alan Smithy. If you don't know who he is, look him up. So, Star Trek Discovery had an apparatus that helped the Starship Discovery travel through space and time differently than what has been developed in Star Trek, which was warp drive. They used the spore drive, the mycelium network, and they used that it's based on mushrooms. And Paul Stamets, he's a real life guy, and how mushrooms, like under the ground, they're all connected to each other. They were trying to say that space-time is the same way, but they used a giant blue tardigrade to help them complete this process. Now, that sounds like a very specific thing because it is. And it sounds like it's a horrible idea in the show. But if you thought about it, it's pretty original. Nobody else has come up with that before until you come to Anas Abdin, who had a giant blue tardigrade that helped a scientist travel instantaneously through time and space. Now, the stories in the Tardigrades video game and Star Trek Discovery are very different, but there's a lot of similarities between characters and specifically the giant blue tardigrade that travels instantaneously through time and space. Now, these character similarities, which you can see right here, by themselves, I've said this over and over again, I could consider a coincidence. It's 2019. There's a lot of inclusivity and diversity, superficial inclusivity and diversity going on right now. But when you group this all together with the giant blue tardigrade that travels instantaneously through time and space, that goes beyond a coincidence. We'll start out with Michael Burnham. Our main character looks a lot like Yolanda, and she looks even more like Yolanda in her Federation prison jumpsuit. Well, that's where coincidence gets a lot more coincidental. Then we have Aziz and Masiak, who are in an interracial homosexual relationship. And then we have Dr. Hugh Culber and Paul Stamets in an interracial homosexual relationship. Then we have Sylvia Tilly, who's a frizzy redhead, with Natasha, who's a frizzy redhead. Again, separately, individually, coincidence, all grouped together with the giant blue tardigrade that travels instantaneously through time and space. And that goes, in my opinion, way beyond coincidence. But we are fighting the law here, the copyright laws that were largely written by politicians who may or may not have been funded by a lot of people in Hollywood. These laws are written everywhere, but they are perfected here in California, where the large portion of the industry is. So you can see how it would favor the corporations. And yes, there are tons of frivolous plagiarism lawsuits that get thrown out immediately, but this one was thrown out because of scenes afar. What is scenes afar? Well, it's a commonality within a created work. So in a Western, a gunfight is scenes afar. It's something that's very common, so you can't copyright it. What they're trying to argue that the tardigrade is scenes afar. Now, the tardigrade has been used in a couple of other things, but it's not that common. And when it's specific to a giant blue one that's surrounded by a bunch of little blue flakes, when it travels instantaneously through time and space, then, in my opinion, it gets to theft. Now, the question of what is theft? Well, theft is when you take something that doesn't belong to you and then you try to make money off it, or you use it, or you just keep it. Now, when it comes to intellectual property, it certainly does get murky. Now, there's a YouTuber out there who has been claiming that we pushed Anas into this GoFundMe. I want to address this right now. Anas reached out to me. Other people reached out to me. I have offered Anas a chance to raise money before, and he has flat refused. This Justice for Anas shirt that I'm wearing right now, we made one so I could wear it around Star Trek Las Vegas and kind of put it in the face of everybody there. And all I got was positive responses, by the way. Especially from one actor from a short trek, by the way, also praised what I did. They don't agree with it, but they praised it. And that was cool. A lot of great responses at Star Trek Las Vegas. There's a lot of great Star Trek fans out there. But this particular YouTuber is basically called me and others out saying that we're trying to make money off this. Well, I am not going to keep a penny of the GoFundMe. None of that money is getting anywhere near my bank account. And the ad revenue and super chats from the live streams I've done and the videos I've done is all going to Anas Abdeen, and I will be completely transparent. And you know what? These are good questions to bring up. I'm not going to argue that. There's a lot of weird stuff going on YouTube. So pay attention to my Twitter around YouTube Payday, which is the 21st of every month, depending on if it lands on a weekend or not. And I will provide screenshots of me donating the amount of money I made from the ad revenue and the super chats to the GoFundMe. And then that's it. But I will be completely transparent. Again, I don't blame people for bringing up that question. I don't blame people for attacking the argument. But when you come at me and you come at Anas saying we're trying to make money, this has cost Anas a ton of money. And the amount we're raising is a drop in the bucket for what he needs. Again, this is an uphill battle, and I don't want to get anybody's expectations too high. He's taking on a giant billion-dollar corporation that just knows they can outspend him. And the judge probably recognized that himself. In my opinion, the judge probably saw that he has very little chance of winning, but I think that shouldn't stop you from fighting your fight, especially if you believe in what you have done and if you believe you have been stolen from. And this will protect independent creators in the future as well. And Anas is a very honorable person. So, and sometimes YouTubers are not. Again, it's good to question that, and I will question something further. I would question any YouTuber who was blindly loyal to a giant soulless corporation and to the words Star Trek. It's not the franchise Star Trek. Star Trek Discovery is an embarrassment. The only thing more embarrassing than making Star Trek Discovery is liking Star Trek Discovery, in my opinion. And being blindly loyal to that, well, people see through that, and maybe that's why your channel isn't getting that much traction. You might want to question that, but you hold to your beliefs there, buddy. And the talking points sound eerily similar to the lawyer's talking points from CBS. So let's go to the GoFundMe. Justice for Anas Star Trek lawsuit appeal is at $17,561. We are oh so close to our $20,000 goal. So many of you have given generously, and I thank you, and Anas thanks you. I will be doing a live stream later today if you're watching this on October 15th. If not, go check out my channel and you can find it. Again, I would like to thank Jeremy for allowing me the opportunity to make this video on his channel, and congratulations again for passing up John Campea in subscribers, even though I'm not supposed to mention it. Everybody, like, share, and subscribe to Geeks and Gamers. Have a great day, and I'll see you in another video.